All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. This is part two of a panel with global Jewish leaders, in this case American Jewish leaders, on the future of the Jewish people, and we are so honored to have them. I'm honored to be moderating this panel with really my friends, of whom I think so highly and with whom I have the great honor and privilege of working so often. I'll begin in order of seating. Jonathan Greenblatt is the CEO of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and a true leader of the Jewish people. He's a former White House staffer. And I would be remiss not to say that his wife, Marjan, is also here participating and speaking in this conference. And their son, Elan. We're so privileged to have him here as well. So you've made it a family business, which is exactly how we like IAC to be. Ellen Finkelstein is the CEO of Hadassah, the Women's Zionist organization, and one of the mainstays of the Zionist world and the Jewish world. And then, of course, presiding over all of the constellation of our federations across North America is Eric Fingerhut, CEO of JFNA, the Jewish Federations of North America. And Eric is also a former member of Congress. Thank you all for being here. And thank you for your leadership. So my first question is, what changed with October 7th? How is the Jewish world different today than it was before that horrific event?
I'll start, and I'll just use the privilege of being next to Elan just to say what an extraordinary leader Elan Carr is. No, I mean it. Like, I remember when he was special envoy for global anti-Semitism, and he taught, this is not recent, and he talked about the need for Jewish unity. The best defense we have against anti-Semitism, the best defense we have against anti-Zionism, the best defense we have against our enemies is unity. That doesn't mean, as the rabbi was saying before, unanimity. We don't have to agree on everything. But let us recognize this notion of Kol Yisrael. Elan, you exemplify in your leadership. I see it here in the hallways of IAC. It's extraordinary. It's super cool. Thank you for having me. What changed on October the 7th? I would say three things. Number one, everything changed on October the 7th. Okay? Everything changed on October the 7th. Because the world saw bloodthirsty Jew hatred play out in its most obvious and indisputable form. What happened, in the Gaza envelope, what happened to over 1,200 Israelis, what happened to the hostages. Not all Israelis, by the way, of course, were killed. But again, as the rabbis were saying before, this was the manifestation of anti-Zionism in its fullest form. The argument anti-Zionism, there's not an argument anymore, folks. After October 7th, nobody can deny it. Anti-Zionism, of course, is anti-Semitism, and October the 7th is where anti-Zionism takes you. So in some ways, number one, everything changed. It was on full display. Number two, nothing changed. Nothing changed. October the 7th it may have happened over the course of several hours, but it was the culmination of generations of Jew hatred. So, like Hemingway said, how do you go bankrupt? Slowly, or gradually, then suddenly. So this had been building. It had been building because of the Islamic Republic of Iran. It had been building because of the toxic propaganda out of Turkey. It had been building because of the hatred being propagated every day through Qatar. But it also had been building because of the right-wing extremists in America and the left-wing radicals in America and the political Islamists in America who are all setting the stage for this, meaning hating on Jews for whatever different reason. So everything changed. It was undeniable. Nothing changed. It built up over time. And then I think the third thing that changed is now every single Jewish organization, with good reason, is focused on fighting the hatred of Jews. And look, the ADL, we are the oldest anti-hate organization in America. We have been doing this the longest, and yet we don't have all the answers. We need Hadassah in this fight. We need federations in this fight. We need IAC in this fight. There is no silver bullet. It requires a sustained, strategic, all-hands-on-deck effort, and we are lucky in our Jewish community that we have such great organizations that are now part of this fight.
Ellen?
Thank you. I look at the change post-October 7th as a change in the way we relate to Israel. from America. And for many Jews, post-October 7th, it changed from being a passive relationship with Israel to being an active relationship with Israel. That immediately we had this visceral reaction that you needed to do something. So many of us bought socks and sent to the soldiers. Many of us went to Israel on missions and picked fruit. Many of us looked for opportunities to get involved, not just to attend a rally, not just to write a check, but you felt this need to be a part of something bigger than yourself, to be a part of our brotherhood in Israel, to understand that we in America are more than the diaspora, but we are part of Klal Yisrael. And for Hadassah, it was business as usual. That's what we do. We show up, we act, we do things. We're caring for the people on the ground. We opened a rehabilitation center to treat soldiers who were injured, to treat people who are suffering from PTSD, to raise money for specific issues that are rebuilding not only the state of Israel and the people of Israel. And I understand and appreciate John's comment about all of us fighting anti-Semitism, and of course we do that in the halls of Washington, and we do that through strategic efforts, but that's not our primary focus. Our primary focus is really bringing healing and health to the people of Israel, and that's the way that we build this bridge between the diaspora and our homeland.
I'm not going to use the mic. I'm not going to use the microphone. I hope you can hear me. I was a politician. I've got a big mouth. I want to add my thanks to Ambassador Carr for his great leadership and friendship. Really, truly, we work together. One of the questions I get all the time is, do you guys work together? And the answer is yes, we work together. We're talking all the time and coordinating. And I also want to thank all of you and thank the IAC. This is such an important, this is not my first time at the conference. I'm privileged to have been watching as this organization grows. And I think about, Kohelet and Ecclesiastes, the threefold cord that that's hard to break. We're getting stronger and stronger in the Israeli-American community as part of strengthening these bonds, and we really appreciate it. So I'm going to answer the question this way. October 7th, war was declared on the Jewish people. Of course, war was declared on the Jewish people in Israel, and I think we all know that war brought with it some failures of Israel's defenses and Israel's government, and some amazing successes. And now, when we look back at in this time of ceasefire and Baruch Hashem, the hostages, with the exception of one, having been returned, there's a need to assess, right? What went right? What didn't go right? What do we need to change? What do we need to improve? And I want you to know, as Ellen said, and Don said, the Jewish community, the organized Jewish community in North America will be with Israel every step of the way, as everything that needs to do is rebuilt and repaired. But war was declared on the Jews in North America too. And so we also have to assess what went right, and what do we need to do better going forward? What do we need to improve? What do we need to strengthen? And I'll summarize what I could talk about for hours very briefly by saying, number one, the connection and the love and support of American Jews and the organizational world for Israel performed exceptionally well, without question. Hadassah and all of the other major organizations that are supporting Israel performed. Our Jewish Federation system, as you know, raised almost nearly $1 billion, supported over 500 different NGOs in Israel that were responding to the crisis. We organized the largest march in the history of the Jewish people here in North America. And every federation has been traveling and visiting, and every community is connected, and partnerships. All of that is very, very strong. Secondly, we showed that despite the constant attacks on Israel in the American media and in government, that we could hold our own. 90% of American Jews support Israel without question throughout this war, no matter what the media was saying, no matter what the politicians were saying. And yes, there were some moments when we didn't get everything we wanted from government at the minute we wanted it, but overall, our advocacy was strong and our connections were strong. What is it that we look back on now when we say we have to address? We had a sustained war on our young people. Without without question. They've been subjected on social media and in their their real social networks, not just their online social networks, at extraordinary levels. And what we see and we understand is that while we've done a good job in North America with what we would call informal Jewish education camps and trips and birthright and all of the other connections, that we have not done enough, and we're not doing enough to strengthen the education of all of our young people, so that they understand why we're Zionists and where it comes from in the Jewish neshama and where it comes from in the Jewish history tradition. And so all of us together are going to be increasing and investing in Jewish education and Jewish connection, so that we can be ensured that the next generation that's going to come up will maintain that 90% support, and will always be responding, will always be connected to Israel and to the Jewish people.
Amen v'amen. You all touched on this a little bit, and Ellen really touched on it, but let's drill down a little bit. What would you say, especially given our current challenges, is the responsibility that the State of Israel has to diaspora Jewry?
So I'll share it. Hadassah really sits at the bridge between Israel and the diaspora. It's funny, we were talking earlier, when people in America meet me and hear that I'm the CEO of Hadassah, they say, oh, my grandmother was in Hadassah. I understand there are chapters around the country. When people in Israel hear that I'm the CEO of Hadassah, they say, oh, I was born in Hadassah Hospital. My brother is a doctor there. We understand how important Hadassah is to this country. I look at what Hadassah has done from Israel post-October 7th, and fortunately or unfortunately, they've become experts in things like trauma care, in things like PTSD, and they feel a responsibility to share that with the world. So after Bondi Beach, Hadassah, within hours, had responded and was online training the doctors in Australia, in Melbourne, with the newest technologies of ways to deal with trauma. By the next day, we had 150 physicians and clinicians on a webinar with our doctors. Last spring, when individuals in Colorado were firebombed on a Sunday morning, walking through a park, advocating for Israel, we had a doctor from Hadassah on his way to work with burn patients. It's utilizing the expertise that we have in reaching out to the rest of the world. Hadassah has done things like run surveys about anti-Semitism and bringing healthcare into communities, not only in the United States, but in Great Britain, in Canada, around the world, offering the things that they've learned over the last number of years. I think people don't appreciate how much Israel is bringing to the world and supporting Jewish communities around the world who are suffering post-October 7th with their own levels of PTSD and trauma.
So I'm going to start by saying what I don't think we need from Israel. People talk a lot about the political. They have to have better PR and all that. Look, the government of Israel has got a big job to do, and the people of Israel have a big job to do, and we support the government of Israel, whichever government it is, whenever it is, and we support the people of Israel all the time, no matter what. So don't worry about the politics. Do the politics, take care of it. We'll take care of our politics in America. But what we do need is to have a unified Jewish people around the world, because Israel needs a unified and strong and growing Jewish people, a flourishing Jewish people that remains connected. So on all of the subjects that relate to Jewish life and health and security around the world, including, as I already said in my first answer, Jewish education and connections and shlichim and trips and volunteering and travel to Israel to learn and study and bring Jewish education here. All of that we need desperately, and we need to do it without regard to as the previous panel demonstrated, without regard to denomination or to theological differences. We need to understand that every Jew in the world must be educated and connected and see us together as Am Yisrael. Back to the very first question, one of the things that changed, I think, since October 7th is Am Yisrael Chai is literally the slogan of the Jewish people. Right? As much as maybe we'd say Shema Yisrael, but the fact of the matter is, there's not a meeting of the Jewish people anywhere in the world today, a rally, a conference that doesn't end every speaker often with Am Yisrael Chai. And so really, if we're Am Yisrael Chai, if we're Am Yisrael, then that's what we need to focus on. And we do need the people of Israel, the government of Israel, to recognize that Am Yisrael is all around the world, that we need to build, strengthen, and support Am Yisrael wherever we are in the world, including in North America.
Yeah, so let me expand the question before Jonathan takes it up, because you both touched on it. I was going to save it for later, but let's combine it. I asked what the responsibilities are of the State of Israel toward the diaspora. Let's add, what are the responsibilities of diaspora Jewry to the State of Israel?
Yeah, so a few things. So number one, I deeply, profoundly believe in this idea of Am Yisrael Chai, like as an idea, as an aspiration, as something we all should recognize we aspire to, and it is the reality. Because we have seen Israelis around the world attacked after a soccer game, thrown out of businesses, of course excluded on the world stage, and here in North America, besieged on our college campuses, just because they are Israeli. No one says you vote Likud or Labor. No one says, how do you think about a two-state solution? They are beleaguered simply because they are Israelis. So Israelis, because of their names, because they're speaking Hebrew on a subway or in a public place, are particularly vulnerable. So I think that the Jewish state of Israel has a degree of responsibility for Jews around the world, and has to realize that the policy decisions in Israel have practical implications. And then we, as Jews, need to realize we have a commitment to Eretz Yisrael. We have a commitment to Medinat Yisrael. We, as Jews in diaspora, need to realize that the comfort that we enjoy, the privilege we enjoy, the acceptance and equality that we enjoy, in part is because of the State of Israel. I firmly believe that our success is related to our sovereignty. And I will tell you something else. Why do they hate us? Those countries, the names I just mentioned a few minutes ago, it's because of our sovereignty. They cannot tolerate the idea of Jews as equals. We are fine as long as we know our place. But those days are over. We do not need to be second-class citizens ever again. If you will, never again. So I think we as Jews need to recognize that our actions have consequences, our words have resonance, and we need to reaffirm our relationship to the State of Israel. And the only way we win, the only way we defeat the scourge, I think there are just three things. Number one, again, identity. Going on offense means preserving and reaffirming our Jewish identity. And you cannot take the Zion out of Jewish identity. This is one of the things that our enemies tell us. You know, there's this new idea, this ridiculous idea, diasporic Judaism. Diaspora is a condition, it's not an aspiration. Right? There's a reason why every Siddur, in every shul, on the planet Earth, on every page, says something about Yerushalayim or Yisrael or Zion. Because you cannot take the Zionism out of Judaism. Zionism didn't start with Theodore Herzl. Zionism started not with Bibi, it started with Moshe Rabbeinu. It didn't start in 1948, it started thousands of years ago. So number one, it's about identity. Number two, again, I believe it's about partnership. All of us working together, and all of us working together as one people. And then thirdly, I'll just say I think it's also about innovation. I can tell you at ADL, we are experimenting, we are trying new stuff, we are piloting. There is no silver bullet, there is no magic wand, and the things we have done till now don't work. And I'll just give one last example and then I'll pass it on. Allyship. The ADL has worked in the civil rights space for generations, for over 100 years. And I am proud of all that work. It was the right thing to do to fight for the equality of black Americans. It was the right thing to do to fight for immigration reform in the 1950s. It was the right thing to do to fight for LGBTQ equality. But I can tell you, in the organized communities in the organizations that represent those communities on October the 7th, that's the sound we heard. So what does it mean? Does it mean we stop allyship? No, but it does mean we need to look for new allies. It means we can't rest on a 1960s model that clearly doesn't work. It failed us. And if you're wondering, how can I say that? I'll ask you to point out the rallies that took place. And I know when we rallied for other groups. But if they don't want to rally for us, we need to find other groups. And in those communities, which are diverse and broad, we need to find other friends. It's incumbent upon us to recognize that allyship is something we need to continue to and recommit to, if we have to innovate the way that we do it. So identity, innovation, partnerships, that's the direction.
Thank you. You know, Jonathan spoke from an organizational perspective, and I'll speak from a personal perspective, and it's what each one of us should be doing and what's our responsibility to Israel. And, you know, when we talk about action, the first thing is showing up and being in Israel, going to Israel, taking your family there, taking your organization there, making sure that you show your friends that this is your homeland. But it's also coming to things like this, being educated enough to have a conversation, being an ally in your community, speaking up on social media, voting in your community. I went to a session earlier today about New York City and our new mayor, and understanding that the Jewish community is responsible for putting him in office, making sure that we run for office, making sure that we put people in positions of authority in this country, making sure that we build a community that's going to support Israel fully every day, not just today, but tomorrow and for years for our future, making sure that our children are following in our footsteps and having those tough conversations, because our children are inundated with unpopular messages. They're inundated with information from the wrong side of history, and making sure that your values are shared with your family. Really, from a personal perspective, we each should be responsible for the future of the state of Israel.
Amazing. All right, we are very close to the end of our time, but why don't we do this? Do any of you have questions? What we'll do is take a few questions, and then you all can answer them together in one shot, because that's all the time we have. Yes? Eldad, do we want to give them mics, or they'll just, I'll repeat the question, because we don't have time, it'll take more time. Yeah? I'll repeat.
How has social media changed the scope of work for ADL?
Yeah.
And how has it changed the relationship and intra-Jewish relationship between the different movements?
Okay, how has social media changed the work of ADL and the relationship and interoperability of the different organizations? Yes? What can we do about the enemy within Jews who hurt the Jewish people, right? Right. Did I capture your question? Jews who stand against the Jewish people and against Jewish safety. Against Israel. Right. Yes. The ADL has a left-wing reputation, and so it's toxic among conservatives. What can the ADL do to reach conservatives? Did I get your question? Okay, anything else? Yes. If you could stand up so we can hear you.
Our government has been closer to Israel than ever before, but however, it's also empowered Qatar, another UAE, and they have dominated and control American education now. That's why we're...
Okay, what about the empowerment of Qatar by the United States and the threats that that poses to the Jewish people? Okay, are we good? I see. I think that's enough. Okay, go for it.
Why don't I take the ADL specific questions? Look, I really appreciate your candor just saying, hey, ADL has a toxic reputation in segments on the right. Complexity for me is ADL also has a toxic reputation at segments of the left. So if you read The Nation or the Forward or Jewish Currents or any of the left-wing outlets, they tell you that we're MAGA apologists and in bed with Trump, and that I am a Zionist, whatever, BB stooge. And again, on the right, there's no question you hear ADL is a woke organization and we're in bed with the left. Look, So what else changed, Elan asked on the 7th. The toxicity of left-wing anti-Semitism can't be denied. And it was manifest in October the 7th. It's manifest how all these left-wing groups, they didn't stab us in the back, they stabbed us in the chest on October the 7th. And it was there to see. We have to own at ADL that we worked with many of these groups. And so that is on us, that we weren't successful in making sure they were really aligned with us, even as we advocated for them. I've tried to take ADL in a direction which is nonpartisan, which is apolitical, where we're calling balls and strikes. It doesn't matter if the person standing at the plate is wearing a red jersey or a blue jersey. Tucker Carlson, I feel fortunate that Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and what was I going to say, the other one, Alex Jones, they despise me as much as Hassan Piker and Mehdi Hassan and Cenk Uygur and all those people. So I think the best thing that I can do to revive ADL's reputation is do the work. In a non-political way, call a spade, call balls and strikes, and not show any favoritism one or the other, and stick to our guns, which is anti-Semitism, 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 anti-Semitism. I appreciate that Hadassah does hospitals and lots of incredible humanitarian work. I appreciate that federations do social services, an incredible bridge between America and Israel. At ADL, we do anti-Semitism and anti-Semitism and anti-Semitism. And trying to tighten our focus in light of the worst surge of anti-Semitism we've ever tracked, not only is that the right thing to do from a positioning perspective, it's the freaking right thing to do from a work perspective. Because we track the incidents. The incident went from 942 in 2015 to 9,354. Any person who says ADL should be doing broader work isn't paying attention. I don't have the bandwidth when it's gone up 1,000%. And social media is a lot of the way. So ADL monitors social media, all using above board, open source techniques, but the hate is online, spreading just social messaging, video games, Wikipedia, LLMs. So we pay attention to all of it and have lots of people and lots of resources focused on it because Facebook is the front line in fighting hate. You know, TikTok is the frontier in fighting anti-Semitism, and we gotta be there.
I'll address the question about what to do about anti-Zionist Jews, the enemy within. And, you know, I don't know how many of you heard Shai David answer this question a few hours ago, but I loved his answer, which was basically ignore it. If you look at the numbers, we're 5 million people in this country. The number of anti-Zionist Jews is very small. They are not our enemy. They're a distraction. And you know, he used the line, what do you call the children of anti-Zionist Jews? You call them Christians. That they are not our future. And if we spend our time focusing on them, we're missing the bigger picture.
So I'm going to take the social media and the enemy within question and put them together because the answer is the same in my mind on both. And I'm going to respectfully slightly disagree with Alan. The truth is that the social media, as Jonathan said, is very much a problem that is affecting and infecting governments in the United States at every level, and in Canada at every level, including down to the school board and the city council, and we have to do something about it. It's not just affecting our own children. It's affecting all young people and all the future of those who are going to be making decisions in this country and in Canada, the two countries that I work in the closest. And look, the problem with the enemy within is if they were only complaining at the Shabbos table, then we could ignore them. But they're not. They're showing up at the local school board and at the local, at the Hillel and the universities and at local TV stations saying, you have to quote me, right? I'm the representative. Why are you talking to the Federation? Why do you go to the Federation CEO for a quote when it's about October 7th? Because we represent the Jewish community. You need to talk to both of us and for both of us. And so it is a challenge that we have to address. And by the way, I hate to say it, it breaks my heart to say there's a lot of Israeli Americans that are in that group. In fact, especially on college campuses where I was the head of Hillel, many of the Israeli American professors on college campus use their authority as Israelis to undermine the Zionist cause on campuses. So if you know anybody like that, talk to them. But the answer to both of those things is we have to be active in our communities. This is where I do agree with Ellen. Every federation is active in government relations and community relations. Every one of us, we're business owners. We are alumni of universities and of schools. We live in communities. We own homes. We have to use our influence and our authorities in our communities to make sure that the decision makers in every single community understand that 90% of Jews are Zionists and support Israel, and any voices they're hearing are the tiny, tiny minority and should not govern their decisions and should not be given positions of responsibility or authority in our government at any level.
Amazing. 20 seconds on...
20 seconds to the young man in the middle on Qatar. The best sunlight is the best disinfectant. So paying attention to, focusing on the way these foreign governments are funding things on campuses really matters. We need the government to stop it in its tracks. We need the government to say foreign influence, whether it's happening online or offline, in social media spaces or our college campuses, is not just a problem, it's a national security crisis, and it needs to end right there. If we started with that, Baruch Hashem, we'd be in a good place.
Thank you all so much for being here, and I want to thank these great leaders, Jonathan, Ellen, Eric. I cannot thank you enough for everything you do for the Jewish people. Thank you.